The multiverse consists of an endless amount of strings. For each string, there's two gods that rule over the universe, creation and destruction. These two gods were given the names Yahweh and Abaddon. Yahweh possesses the power of creation, constructing the universes and deciding over its evolution, while Abaddon is the one who determines the fate of the creations, destroying things at his will. However, due to this duality, universes never exist for very long, as sooner or later Abaddon will have ended up destroying them. In this string of universes, Yahweh grew tired of it, and decided to negotiate with Abaddon. They made a deal that Yahweh would single-handedly rule over the next universe he creates, while Abaddon gets to observe by his side until Yahweh would eventually retire. Then Abaddon would take his place. Other perks of this deal was that they would share each other's powers, and that Abaddon would divide into three lesser beings in order to maintain a physical form to be able to directly interact with the world. These three lesser beings would be known as the Seraphim. As Abaddon divided, the excess power that was dumped aided in the universe's creation, the Big Bang, which scattered the God's power across the universe. This was the mark of the second era of divine rule, though conventionally it would only properly start 13 billion years later. As the universe expanded, Yahweh, now the God of both creation and destruction, and now to be known as simply God, sent out a wave of his own essence, known as sparks, or specifically in this case, star craters. These sparks would aid the universe in its creation, turning loose pieces of matter into stars and celestial bodies. Billions of years went by, and eventually God picked out a planet that he decided was special, which he named Terra. By this point, God would station himself within the sun, from which he would watch the solar system. He sent out more sparks that would work to stabilize the hostile spherical matter slowly and gradually. These sparks would never become star craters, but would instead be dedicated to Terra specifically. Eventually, the planet's surface had cooled down enough, and it was becoming more peaceful with bodies of water. God then decided it was time for him to bless the planet with the gift of life, something special that originated from him. He put some of his own essence into the water, which would eventually evolve into what we would classify as the first life form. With life came also death, and thus God created a lesser deity which would be tasked with keeping track of all life. He would later on be known as Azrael, deity of death. For the next few billion years, the gods observed the life on Earth. What made life special from anything else was the fact that it was able to adapt and evolve, taking on new forms after millions of years. Plants, mushrooms, bacteria, and animals. The evolution of life was starting to figuratively resemble the shape of a tree, and was only growing more and more complex. However, while creation had always been Yahweh's primary ability and purpose, he now had the power of destruction to his disposal as well, and curiosity would occasionally bring him to tamper with the life on Earth, to get a better idea of how they may react to drastic changes of circumstances. While it was all very slow, it impressed him how relentless life was. While no living individual was immortal like he was, life itself was immortal. By the end of an age of ice, God had his attention drawn to a certain species of ape. This species had excelled at finding ways of adapting its surroundings, having made tools and equipment necessary for its survival, which wasn't prominent to the same degree in any other species. God didn't take long to decide that this was his chosen life form, the humans. This was when God set in place the final pieces to form the second era. He decided what in the world he liked and what he didn't like, and he named these things good and evil. Things that were good were more pure forms of his essence, something that he would be able to reuse to sustain himself once these life forms die. What was evil was corrupted and was of no use to him. He created more realms alongside the mortal one, which included heaven and hell. Heaven is where he'd keep the sparks that he had used as tools to maintain the planet, and hell would be the place to keep all evil to his best efforts. He also created new beings, which were designed to be the reflection of the duality of humanity. He made the sparks take on forms that reflected the humans, but also birds, the angels or Enochians, starting with 6 archangels. He also gave the seraphim forms that resembled the Enochians, and in hell he created 10 harbingers, the demons. Azrael also gained a bigger task of weighing the purity of the human souls, and direct them after death. God had now established his system, a system of cycles and judgment. He was intent on keeping his universe going for as long as he was able to. This will be the everlasting universe.